Alright, so I got the belt off. Sitting on the engine and pushing on the pry bar gave me enough torque. The belt, actually, it's all rusty and spots from it sitting out, but it's not cracked or anything. So maybe this was taken care of okay. Hard to say. But one of the things I need to take off, this has the power brakes, the brake thing there, and don't need that on an MR2. So it's an electric one up front, so it's not on the engine. So pull that one off, and I can pull off the air conditioner on the other side, compressor on the other side. Got to swap starters, stuff like that. So and start pulling off some of these odds and ends and figuring out what's been cut and what I need and that kind of a thing. So gonna get to pulling it apart. I've been able to take off the brake pump or booster, I guess, whatever you want to call it, and you have to replace it with a little wheel. Comes off of the 1ZZ, so just swap the two out. So one more piece off of the puzzle. All right, the next part of this project is all the hoses, and there are 3 hose locations on the 2ZZ that we're not going to use anymore. So Monkey Wrench Racing has the caps. They're not cheap, but you need 3 of them. One big one, 2 of the little ones. And they have a great picture on there that shows you which ones to cap and which ones not to. Like this one, which is that big hose I just pulled off. We're going to use that one with the original hose. This one we're going to cap with the large one. And then there's a couple more that we have to cap on this rail underneath the intake. So it looks like I maybe have to take the intake off to get to everything. But there's a big picture on there that's got everything you need at Monkey Wrench. So gives you the guide. So I'm going to start getting them all off and swapping them out and getting that part done. As I get ready to swap more things over, I thought it probably was, number one, a good idea. I need to give myself a little more room around the new engine there, but also to line them up in the same direction. So that way when I'm doing this wiring harness and stuff, it just should be pretty straightforward. I can keep track of it a little easier. So I just removed the alternator right there, and I've removed a few hoses in that. So I'm just getting down in here. The next thing I'm going to do while I've got this apart, right here is where the thermostat is. So I'm going to swap out the thermostat. I've been checking the wheels. They all sound okay. I don't really hear anything on the idler pulleys, or the water pump sounds okay. So I think I'm okay with those. About the best you can do to test them. But I'm going to swap that out. All right, so I pulled the thermostat out. There's my new one. There's my old one. This one's a little, I don't know, heavier duty, I guess, looking. But 80 degrees is the right amount for these. So 82 Celsius. That's what I'm swapping out for. That's what this one says. And I've never done one like this before. The gasket actually goes around. It's a little rubber one. It goes around the edge, and then you put it in. I don't know. Just never done a thermostat, I guess, on a car like this. But always had the paper gaskets and that. So. Pretty straightforward putting it in there. Obviously a little more coolant poured out, find a little bit more all the time. So we'll get this in. This is pretty straightforward, but this also lets me get to having this stuff out of the way, lets me get to some of the hoses back up underneath here that I need to cap. So I'm going to try and get to that too. Okay, so when it comes to the 3 caps, there's one right there, there's the second right there. And since this is a JDM motor, all these clips are already there, so use the clips on them. And the third one is around here on the other side above the thermostat, right on that little post you can see sticking out there. And you can see them all in the pictures too. So I'll put the cap on there, and then I can put the thermostat in and close that up. All right, so one more thing that we have to change on this side of the engine. Now, keep in mind, this side with the intake, that's facing the car. It's facing the front of the car. So, the car top is going to come right up to about there. So all this is enclosed, and there's your dipstick right there. So obviously that location's not going to work. On the 1ZZ, you can see it comes around from over here on the side and then winds around and goes back and then goes into the same spot. So there's people have noted that they've taken that one and adapted it, but Monkey Wrench makes a replacement one. So then you can install this in there, and if I remember right, you use the 1ZZ stick, and because it's a little longer, and should work out okay. So I'll get that in there, and while I've got everything apart here. All right, so there's the difference in the length for these. The one on the left is from the 1ZZ, the one on the right is from the 2ZZ, so obviously the one on the right doesn't work anymore. So got the pipe in here, so obviously it goes in right here around the outside of this where the coolant thermometer temperature sensor is. Comes around here, mounts on this bolt right here. This is obviously your mount in the car. Comes around up here and right up next to it, just like it did on the 1ZZ. So we'll feed it in there. So pretty self-explanatory. It's got a little gasket on the end down here where it inserts. So one more piece on. All right, so at this point, there's a couple of things that are done. I can point to one, the starter's gone here. I'll pull that off the other engine and put it in there. The one that was working just fine. I determined that the knock sensor, which is this wire right here, the knock sensor's up underneath the, get the camera in the right spot. This is the knock sensor connector. The knock sensor's way up underneath the intake. You have to have a one-wire knock sensor for this to work, which the 1ZZ has. Later model 2ZZs have a 2-wire, so you have to swap that out. So you got to get in there and you got to check that one. I'm okay with that. I've put my thermostat back in and my cover on, and I've got the new oil dipstick installed up the side there. And now I'm going to swap over the starter, and I need to swap over the alternator, which goes right here. And once I get those swapped over, I am just about ready to start pulling wiring harness. So we're making good progress.